Welcome everyone. Let's begin our lesson for today by going over the learning goals and success criteria. First, what are we learning? We're learning how to understand the vocabulary associated with complex numbers in the complex plane, how to understand complex numbers and how they are typically represented, how to plot complex numbers on the complex plane, and how to find the conjugate of complex numbers. How are we learning it? Through the reasoning with complex numbers vocabulary flashcards and the reasoning with complex numbers vocabulary quiz assignment, as well as the Complex Number System Part 1 notes and the Complex Number System Part 1 assignment. When can we use this information? To assist with the vocabulary in the lessons of this unit and to determine the amount of voltage being used in your house at different times of the year. How do we know we learned it? By getting a score of 4 on the Reasoning with Complex Numbers vocabulary quiz assignment and the Complex Number System Part 1 assignment. Now let's take a look at our agenda for today. We will begin by going over our learning goals and success criteria. While we do that, you'll fill out your Get It Started. Once you've completed your Get It Started, we'll go over it together and answer any questions that you may have. Next, we'll do our weekly raffle. After that, we'll go over the Complex Number System Part 1 notes, and then I'll give you time to complete the Complex Number System Part 1 assignment on Desmos. Once you've completed the assignment, we'll go over it together and answer any questions that you may have. At the end of class, we'll go back over our learning goals and success criteria while you fill out your Before You Go. Your homework for tonight is to begin looking at the Reasoning with Complex Numbers study guide, as well as complete the Reasoning with Complex Numbers vocabulary quiz and any incomplete assignments that you may have. Let's take a look now at the Complex Number System Part 1 notes. The notes begin with the learning goals and success criteria. Now, what is a complex number? A complex number is any number that cannot be found on the real number line. All complex numbers can be written as the sum of a real number and a complex number. So when we write it that way, it is called Cartesian form. So this is the standard form for writing a complex number. And it looks like this, a plus bi. Now a and b should both be real numbers. And then I obviously stands for imaginary. So we have our imaginary number here. And we can have multiples of them. So we could have 4i, which means there's 4 imaginary numbers. So we can look anything like this. A represents a real constant. B represents the real coefficient of I. And I represents the square root of -1. Now, from that, we can find a conjugate. So remember, the Cartesian form is a plus bi. The conjugate is always going to be the opposite sign of the bi part. So this would be a plus bi. So the conjugate would be a minus bi. Now if this was already negative, then it would become plus bi. So we always do the opposite. Types of graphs. We have the Cartesian plane, which looks like this. We have our x and our y, just like we always did. That's what we're used to seeing for forever. Now, the complex plane, or as we call it, the Argand diagram, looks a little bit different. So all of this looks the same, except now this axis is called the reals, and this axis here is called the imaginary. So we would plot our real over here, and our imaginary goes up and down. So if we were to graph -2 minus 3i, well, first we need to pick out what our real number is. Our real number is -2. And our imaginary number is -3i. So now we're going to plot this. So we have our real axis here, and this one should be our imaginary axis. So our real is -2. So along the reals, we're going to go to the left 2. And our imaginary is -3. So we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, and plot our point. So this is how we graph complex numbers on the Argand diagram. Now we can do a few more. So we have -2 plus 3i. So we're going to go to the left 2 and up 3. And there's A. Now B just says -2i. Well, that means there's no reals, so we're not going to slide side to side at all. And my imaginary is -2, so I'm just going to go down 2 and plot that point. There's B. Now C is 4. So notice my reals is 4, but I have nothing for my imaginary, so it just goes right there. There's C. And then 5 plus 3i. So I'm going to go to the right 5, and then up 3, and there's D. So this is how we plot points on the complex plane. There's a video here as well that shows you how to plot complex numbers in Desmos, so you can go ahead and watch that video. Let's talk now about how we can plot complex numbers on the coordinate plane using Desmos. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to desmos.com and we're going to click on Graphing Calculator. And notice it gives us a standard graph, and we need to change this to become an Argand diagram. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the little wrench here, and for my x-axis I'm going to label that RE for real, and y-axis we're going to label that IM for imaginary. Now we have our real and imaginary axes. Now let's say we were trying to plot the point 3 plus 2i. So let's say that's what we're trying to plot. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to treat the first number, the real number, as our x, and the imaginary number, the number in front of the I, as our y. So what we would do is we'd go ahead and put it in parentheses. We put 3, because that's our x, and then our y, which is 2, comma 2. And then we can label it, and now we have a graph with, this is 3 and 2i on the complex plane. So that's how you graph and check your work for plotting complex numbers on the complex plane. Let's talk now about how to sign in to Desmos to complete your work. So what we're going to do is you're going to click on the link to go to the assignment, and it should take you to a page that looks kind of like this. And right here where it says sign in with Google, we're going to click there. It's going to pop up with our email accounts. You're going to click on your school email account, and it should already have you logged in because you should have already been logged in using Google Classroom. From there, I'm just going to click Start the Activity, and it will take me into the assignment and allow me to begin. So that's how you will log in to Desmos using Google. Let's take a look now at the Complex Number System Part 1 assignment. The assignment begins with our learning goals and success criteria. If we scroll down, there's a link here that takes us to the Desmos activity. Go ahead and click on that link, and it should take us to a page that looks like this. We're going to go ahead and click Start the Activity. The activity begins with the learning goals and success criteria. We'll go ahead and click Next. And now it asks us to match each of the complex numbers with the letter that goes with it. So the first one says 2 plus 5i. So I'm going to go on the reals to 2, 1, 2. And then I'm going to go on the complexes to 5. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I can see that the matching letter there is B. So I'm going to go ahead and type B here. Then I have negative 3 plus I. So my real is negative 3. So I'm going to go to the left, 1, 2, 3. And my complex is positive 1. So I go up 1, and that's J. So I'm going to do that for each of these and answer all of them. Then I move to the next one and continue to do the same. And now I want to know what is the complex number for A. So if I go to A right here, I can see that I'm at 1, 2, 3. So the reals is 3 plus, and my imaginaries is 1, 2 down, right? So it'll be minus 2i. So that's the complex number. Now the complex conjugate is we're just going to change the sign of the imaginary. So my complex conjugate would be 3 plus 2i. And you'll do that for each of these. So you'll do G, M, etc. So you'll do that for both pages here. And then once you complete the assignment, you'll go back to your Google form and click Next. This will take you to your Before You Go. Go ahead and fill out your Before You Go and then submit your work on Google Classroom.